Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you a word guessing game with C++. So basically, I'll be covering the game design. So the game starts with a secret word. Users have to guess, covered in asterisks on the screen. So basically, a series of asterisks of the length of the secret word that's going to be outputted at the start of the game. The player begins with 5 lives, and with each turn, the player guesses a letter, and the program reveals the letter in the secret word, just like Hangman. If the secret word doesn't contain the letter, the player will lose 1 life, and the game loop will continuously check if the life of the player is 0 and output the player's loss, or if all letters are found and the player wins. So the foundation of the code basically states in order to organize our code and debug it easily, it's best to divide the code into functions, which will make it like easier to organize and debug. First, we will need to set up the game and reset all the lives, use letters as well as a secret word, which are many variables that we're going to use later to keep checking in the functions. We will have a main game loop that runs through a series of functions that draw the screen, get the move, and then internally make the move, as well as checking if the player has lost or won the game at any point in time. At the end of the game, our code will provide the user with the endgame information with check endgame. So we could organize this code into a flowchart basically. And so you could see there's a setup game, draw screen, get move, make move, check endgame functions. And there's a main game loop that revolves around those 5 functions. So these are 2 important functions, get move and check endgame. So get moves keeps axing the move until it receives a valid move. Basically, it's possible for the player to input a invalid move, and so that's why it's necessary to use a while loop or any other loop to keep checking if the player's input is valid or not, and then pass through the next 2 functions. So check endgame checks if the game is over or not, and if that's the case, it breaks the main game loop and exits to show the end of the game information. So basically, I'll be showing you the code right here. So basically, this is the code. So we have the initialization, um, and then we'll have some global variables, like I stated before, secret word, masked word, and use letters, as well as lives, finish, and letter. Okay, so in setup game, we will take the input of the secret word, uh, and then we'll have a mask word, basically the length of secret word, using a loop. We'll set lives to 5 and finish to -1, meaning negative finish is -1, meaning that the game is still going. So draw screen functions basically outputs many things, such as the masked word, remaining lives, use letters, and then it has a empty line after that in order to get to get move. And then get move asks the player for a input, which is a letter, a lowercase letter, and then we take in the input. And so while true, we need a while loop because the player can put in infinite amount of invalid moves. We don't know how much, so that's why we need a while loop. And we'll continue to check if the letter is inside used letter. And if it's not, then we'll output invalid. This letter's been used before, or see out enter a lowercase letter, see an letter, and if that's not the case, we'll just break the loop because we don't need we don't need to output these conditions unless it's invalid. And so that leads us into make move. Make move basically changes the board. Basically, we'll start a flag equals to 1, meaning that if the player enters a word that's letter that's not in the word, and then we'll check if flag equals to 1, then we subtract the lives by 1. So we have a loop that's iterating through secret word, and we could take each element of secret word by saying secret word I, and we're checking if that's equals to letter, and letter was the input we got here. And if it's equals to letter, that means that it satisfies and mask I is letter, meaning it'll display the letter and replace it instead of at one asterisk, it'll replace the letter that the players correctly inputted and flag equals 0. If that's not the case, then lives minus equals to 1. And we always add the letter to use letters. Now check endgame checks if master word equals secret word, meaning all the letters of secret word are completely fulfilled in master word, meaning they're equal, meaning the user got all the letters correct. And if that's not the case and lives is equal to 0, we'll return 0. And if none of this or this is the case, we'll return -1, meaning that the game is still going, 1 meaning that the player has won, 0 meaning the player has lost. Here, this is the main loop, main function where the main game loop runs. So basically, we'll first need to set up the game, and then we'll need to run the loop infinitely many times until the game is over. So we'll have to draw the screen, then get the move, and then we have to make the move, and then we always need to set finish equals to check endgame. If finish is greater than -1, then we have to break from the loop, meaning that the player has either lost or won, because 0 is greater than -1 as well as 1 is greater than -1. At the end, which is our endgame information, basically we'll have to output master word, remaining lives, use letters, and then we'll see if finish equals to 0, that means the player has lost, and we'll output this. If finish is equal to 1, we'll output you won, and that's how the game will work. So basically, here I'm running the code, right? Let's say put A. Yeah, A is in because I hard coded my secret word right here, Aryaman, just to make sure that everything's working properly. So A is here 3 times, and we could see that correctly here. Now, what if we type A again? It's that letter has actually been used before. So that means our get move while loop is working properly, and we're asked to enter another word. If we enter, let's say R here, okay, now it exits that while loop, and then notice how it's always adding to use letters, and the remaining lives is currently 5 because we haven't got a word invalid. Let's say we get a word invalid. Look, it's not in this word, and so our remaining lives is 4. It will continue to be added to use letters. So let's say Y, M. Okay, now let's put another invalid case. Yeah, so this letter has been used before, basically here. And so now let's say I type N. That means that I have won, and that's how the game basically works. So basically, the word guessing game is a basic game that is fun and can be built with many languages such as C++. You can also build it with Python. It uses many foundational and important concepts like how we showed string concatenation, arrays, loops, and like a bunch of more important concepts that's necessary to build this game. And so I recommend trying it as a first game for any language you learn because it's an easier game. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.